back to another Unpilled episode. We have a really cool guest with us today who I've been doing a lot of work with recently. I met her through her conference she held. We're lucky to have Jana with us today because the last time she was available like this, there was tens of thousands of people that registered to hear from her and the awesome work. And first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Cash.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah, you just had this Medicine and Mindset Summit and literally tens of thousands of people registered to be part of this, and you brought in 40 different, I don't know how many different experts focusing on this one thing that we need to do to truly be healthy, and you picked everything apart, and well, voila, there's tens of thousands of people all of a sudden got that help, and thank you for that work you did. But how was that experience? That must have been crazy, grueling pain to put that all together.
It was. Yeah, it was. Do you know how sometimes you don't know what you don't know? So you say yes to things because it feels like a really good idea.
Yeah.
And I think for me, you know what, curating an event, and I really rooted into why I wanted to do the Medicine and Mindset Summit. And it all boils down to something so simple that I feel like we need to be reminded that before medicine came out of a pharmacy, it actually was supplied to us by Mother Earth. And our body and mind has this innate ability to have intuition around healing. And I think sometimes that gets muted or we've forgotten about that. And trust me, I believe there is a time and a place for medicine, right? And I just wanted more people to reconnect with the essence of, trusting their body and really what is that natural way of waking up those senses.
And, somebody might ask, well, why does Jana know this? Well, if you ever heard Jana's story, it was crazy pain, crazy problems, 11 different drugs, to be told it's all in your head, right? And the irony or brilliance of this is kind of mind blow is that on one end, you're being told you have no problem, it's all in your head. Second thing is you're teaching people to use what's in their head to heal their problems by adjusting their mindset. And you had to start there. So tell us about what happened with you.
Yeah. So, I grew up farm kid in Saskatchewan in Canada where we had, big, huge gardens, lots of open space to run around. And that was my childhood. I also had, grew up a farm kid. So seeing my dad have his rolls of Tums antacids in his half-ton trucks and everywhere around the house, because, when you're at the mercy of the weather or some sort of, disease in your crop, it can get pretty intense. And so I just thought that I was like my dad. I just had a nervous stomach, or, if I had a big test or waiting for a boy to call me, my stomach would, act up a bit. And I carried that belief with me into university, moved away from my small town, went to get, a university education, and the pain became more regular. It became more intense. And I did what I was brought up to do, is when you were in pain, you went to the doctor and you got medication and it healed you. And then you went on with your life. And that journey was not exactly simple or easy. It was 2 years. And like you mentioned, 11 different medications by the time I was 21 years old, just to be told that they believed that the pain was in my head and I was seeking attention because I didn't fit into a box, right? None of the tests that they were doing fit me into a perfect diagnosable box that they could say with confidence, this is what it is and this is how we'll fix it. And you know what that whole experience did? It really is, I see it as a gift these days because it bumped me onto this new path of healing and helping others heal. Without that experience, I'm not sure I would be doing what I am today. And so I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah, and we see this story so much of great healers that find something. It's usually because they had to find it for themselves. There's so many functional medicine stories of even MDs that have been practicing in clinic for 20 years and all of a sudden one day they themselves needed help and realized that the tools they were using can't help them. So they go get a layer of integrative or functional training and shut their practice down and realize I got to change what I'm doing. So, and you've been through the same. And this is where the great learning comes from because you had to truly fend for yourself, self-heal, and now you have this amazing toolkit to teach the world. So what did you figure out? First of all, what was the actual problem? What was wrong that everyone said there was no problem?
So, I here's what was wrong. What was wrong that on the outside I looked like a healthy 21-year-old Canadian. On the
Yeah.
inside, I was full of anxiety. I stopped using my diaphragm to breathe. I lost confidence in myself. It was all this emotionality. And so it really was no trauma with a capital T. It really, I didn't know. And for me, realizing that I was looking outside of my body for the healing, that someone else was in charge of that healing was not the right path. I guess I didn't know what I was really looking for. So here's the story. I was in Safeway in the grocery checkout line, and I saw Madonna, the Material Girl, on the cover of a fitness magazine, and it had the word Pilates, splashed across the cover. And I thought, well, what's Madonna doing now? So I bought the magazine and I went home and I read this article. And you guys, at this time, I was teaching fitness classes to pay for my tuition in university. And I read this article about this form of movement created by a German gentleman named Joseph Pilates, who was believed that the health of the body was dictated by the health of our spine. And that, the article said things like breath is the first and the last act of life.
Hmm.
And somewhere in the middle, we forget how to do it, right? He talked about these 5 really basic spinal movements that were like a recipe, like a chocolate chip cookie recipe. And I was like, what is this movement? And I was intrigued enough to go. And that was really my saving grace, because 16 weeks after my first Pilates class, I was off all 11 medications.
That is insane. First of all, so the person just listening in that maybe hasn't understood or dug into the body may think that this is wacko. But if you do think about what's going on in the body and what's going on in Pilates, you can very clearly, and what you were complaining about, like the concerns, like the pain points you had, anxiety, gut, brain type stuff. It's that purposeful movement that leads to this neuroplasticity and development of the brain. It leads to being in this state of demanding the body to be sort of strong and positive, balancing hormones, balancing everything. So, what seems like quote unquote exercise, right, and chalked up to just that, can truly be healing. And here you are to prove it. So you went through that. Is this what you now teach people, or is there more to it?
Yeah, there really, I mean, it's been an evolution, right? So that was, my gosh, 20 years ago. And it shifted my whole career from the world of corporate, human resources, to starting my own Pilates studio and integrated health therapies clinic, which I just sold, and getting into the online space and teaching people that mindful movement is truly one form of medicine that I think gets overlooked. And you said it so in such a simple way, is that it's, I think exercise has been positioned in our mind by the fitness industry in a way that it actually does us a
Mm.
disservice, because we've been told that there's arm day and there's leg day and you got to leave a puddle of sweat on the floor for your workout to be worth it. Yet we have these systems in our body. We have a skeletal system, which is our bones. We have a circulation system, which is our blood. We have a respiratory system, which is our breath. We've got two sides of our nervous system. We have all these systems. And just like anything, your vehicle, your phone, your computer, when something is not quite right in one of the systems, the entire being or the entire vehicle or computer or phone is going to be impacted. It's not going to run as efficiently,
Mm.
right? So when you understand that we're not potato head dolls where you can like put on your sexy arms for date night, and we can't interchange those parts of our body. When you understand the simplicity of what do our 75 trillion cells need? Well, they need oxygen. They need high quality oxygen. We need movement so we can have blood flow, nutrient rich, oxygen rich blood that can help when there's inflammation in the body, when there's dis-ease in the body. There are things that we need to be properly nutrition, properly hydrated. And I feel like sometimes these tools get positioned so it feels like too much, right? You guys, when we, when we were shut down with the pandemic, and fast food restaurant drive-throughs were allowed to be open and liquor board stores
Mm,
were allowed to be open, yet my business, my integrated health therapies clinic and my Pilates studio, which focus on the fundamental being of health and wellness, we had to shut our doors. Like, that was a huge kind of kick in the butt for me to be, okay, I need to get the word out and connect with people like you, Cash, who are, creating information and content for people who are hungry for
mm.
it. When you realize that it takes minutes a day to start to impact those systems, it can be extremely empowering.
You know what you said there, dis-ease. That's like the most beautiful poetry I've ever heard because it truly
Mm.
explains what we misunderstood, and it also explains why what you're describing worked. Because a disease isn't what people think it is. I have this, right? I have this disease. It's part of me. I now have to deal with it. It's the body's dis-ease. You've done something over time that is not aligned with, call it your body systems, right? And something is suffering a load somewhere, whether it's inflammation or fibrosis or whatever's going on, that you've been fighting for years, if not decades, that eventually crossed over into disease state. All of us are in
Mhm.
dis-ease right now. All of us are constantly battling something,
Yeah.
and our bodies are resilient and fighting. The day that you're not healthy enough to fight is when it becomes disease, the thing with a label that you then get prescribed something for, which, you had 11 prescriptions, which also still didn't even get you anywhere. It didn't
Mhm.
work for you. And mindful movement, I would say it's the movement, and this is amazing because your whole conference was on mindset. That movement, when you think about Pilates, it's also a mindset practice because you're not just moving your body, you're also hyper focusing your mind. You're putting yourself in an environment where all the noise is gone, right? And you've got this cocoon, this like
Mhm.
safe place for a little while, this me time, call it. And you're also exercising your mind probably without even realizing that's what you're doing, right? And so you're getting that mindset adjustment plus the physical and triggering all the right movements. And you could see when you really understand the biology of what you're doing in that half an hour, how that's a healing modality. It's not just, like we said, exercise, right?
Yeah, and as I was listening to you talk, it made me just think of one of the quotes from Joe Pilates that I absolutely love, and he said that a healthy mind, when housed in a strong body, possesses a glorious sense of power.
Mm,
And I think that speaks volumes. Is that we can feel very disconnected from who we are. Our body can really let us down. And think about this. If you have ever had a new baby in your home or brought a new pet, into your home, you spend very focused, concentrated time on what that baby or what that new little puppy needs. What does that cry mean? What does that mean when they scratch at the door like that? And you focus, okay? Some even a sillier metaphor would be, I forgot my phone charger at the last hotel that I was staying at. And it freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to charge my phone? I need, right? You think about every night where we go into, you got to charge your phone so it's ready to go in the morning so it can serve you. What if we use that same mindset and focus on our own body? What if we became connoisseurs of health and wellness where we could hear our body when it was whispering versus waiting until it's in an all out
mm,
temper tantrum before we're like, oh, I better take that Tylenol because I've had a headache for 5 days. But we don't think I haven't had much water. I don't think I've had fresh air for the last 3 days,
mm-hmm.
right? Like we stop at the solution we hear on TV or
Yeah,
see in the magazine, which is that, now this pain over the counter pain medication is good for 12 hours. So you only need two pills
yeah,
in a 24-hour period instead of three.
yeah. To hide your problem as opposed to face it and figure out what's actually going on. So how did you
Exactly.
go from there to, okay, this is your modality. It's movement. It's pushing the body to trigger vitality, and you get better. And all of a sudden, you come out with this massive summit on mindset. How did you get there, where you realize that this is
Yeah.
what I actually need to talk to the world about?
See, I learned early on in my career that people will ask for help when they're experiencing some sort of physical
Yeah.
ailment. Okay. They have back pain, they're having digestive issues, they haven't been able to sleep for the last 3 months. I learned very quickly that people will come for the physicality, but because we're not a one dimensional being, there is this emotionality, and there's the energetics of
Yeah.
the body, and there's the spirituality of the body. There's all these different realms of who we are. And so Pilates became a super safe place for people to get that without getting that. It was kind of a sneaky
Mm-hmm.
way, right? Through getting them, like you said, to focus on their body, to turn off the noise, and really fall in love with who they
Mm-hmm.
are and what they want to be one day. Do you want to be? Because do you know what I found was that when I would meet with a new client, most of them wouldn't even introduce themselves by their name. They would initially introduce themselves to me by their
Wow.
diagnosis. I've got a bulge disc at L4, L5, right? I've got high blood pressure. I've got cancer. I've got, like, they would use the diagnosis as who they were. And it kind of broke my heart because, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg. What came first? Was this diagnosis like drilled into their head that this is what it's like for the rest of their life, so they better get used to that being a part of who they are? And were they not given an opportunity to really think outside of the boundaries of their
Yeah.
diagnosis, that what would happen if I could fill in the blank XYZ, right? So that's when I started to, in little baby steps, start to bring mindfulness. And I would be careful. I wouldn't use the M word, meditation, because for some people that would freak them out. Like, I'm not here to
Yeah. Yeah.
meditate. I'm here for my Pilates class, but I'm not here for meditation, right? So when I understood that, I would start to bring in a really beautiful way, the mindset piece, the visualization piece. Dr. Joe Dispenza says that our thoughts are the language of our mind, but our feelings are the language of our body. So when your thoughts and your feelings are completely disconnected, you're going to end up with a body that feels like it's in the wilderness, right? You might say to yourself when you're at the grocery store lineup, the clerk says, "Oh, hey, how's your day?" You might say the words, "Oh, they're good." But your brain knows that the thoughts in your brain are not good.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. I feel overwhelmed. I feel anxious. I'm in pain. I just fell out of my relationship. I lost my job. And then you get these feelings. You start to get heart palpitations. You start to get stomach aches. You start to, create all this unnecessary tension in your body. And then it just becomes this perpetual, almost like a tornado
Mm-hmm.
where the eye of the storm is not calm. The eye of the storm is just more chaos. And so, how do you start unraveling that ball of yarn? It's, getting the thoughts that are the language of your mind and the feelings that are the language of your body on the same page, so that you can be present and feel what your body is telling you. Um, and that's really what, that work over the last 10 years brought me to this opportunity of creating the summit, bringing 50 plus world experts to the virtual stage so that people from around the world could understand really the simplicity, cut through all of the, like you said it before, noise, and really just reconnect to the essence of who we are, and some of these really simple things that can be forgotten or misunderstood or discounted.
Mm.
Like, that's woo woo, right? Just breathing. How can breathing impact, A, B, C, and D? Well, it actually can. So that's kind of how we came full circle from, Pilates physical movement to realizing that there is an opportunity here to impact in a radical way through the summit.
So when you went through all these 50 some odd interviews, that's a crazy amount of interviews, first of all, to even find those experts that can all talk to this one topic. You're sitting back now, it's all done. What are those two or three things that are like those
Mm-hmm.
wow moments that, oh my God, I'm doing this interview, but this guy or this gal just blew my mind? What are those two or three bombshells that you learned along the way?
Yeah, gosh, that is such a good question. So at the end of every interview, I asked every single person to weave together all the interviews. What is the one or two mindset hacks or tips or tricks that you use in your personal life to share with our audience? And I'm going to say that 95% of my speakers spoke to the way they start their mornings, the way they start with gratitude, some meditation, just some quiet moments to start their
Yeah.
day. Um, Hands down, that was one of the main themes is that, and Dr. Edward Group said it really good, where he said, my goal is to win the morning.
Mm.
If I can win my morning, then I know I'm going to win my entire day. And then he said, do you know how I know I'm going to win my morning? Is if I win my evening. If I have, if I'm not up till 2 a.m, if I am shutting down my tech, if I am, playing with my kids or listening to some music so that's the first thing. Now, the other point that really sticks in my mind is Marcy Shimoff, who many of you will know. She's from the Chicken Soup for the Soul
Right.
empire. She built that out. And she said one statement that still I think about every single day. She said that encouraged the audience to ask this question to themselves every single day.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most loving thing I can do for my body right now?
Wow.
And I was like, what? That is right. Because it could be something as simple as I could take a sip of water.
Yeah.
I could go outside and take a breath of fresh air. I could go hug my husband. I could text my mom in that moment,
Yeah.
right? And it does what Dr. Joe Dispenza says is the only moment we can impact change in is the present moment. And if we ask ourselves, what's the most loving thing I can do for my body, my mind, my soul right now? I just think if we're talking about up-leveling how we show up on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's people like your audience, Cash, and people that, utilize your services as the DNA company that really are the beacons of being like health champions. And whether they realize it or not, their actions, even listening to this podcast, will impact the people in their life.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I said on my summit was, I want, as my audience, I want people to take this information, turn it into education. Well, how do you turn it into education? You start to understand what that speaker is telling you. You start to maybe put some things into action. That's how information becomes education. And then you take education and you turn it into wisdom by sharing that with someone else. So can you imagine if, the tens of thousands of people that came to the summit, the people that are watching and listening to your podcast today, if they shared one thing with one other person, we've just 2x'd our impact.
Yeah.
And if that person told 2 friends, do you know what I mean? That is like the snowball rolling downhill. And that's what I feel like, people like you and I are here to, that's part of our mission.
That is the mission. It's to I mean, it goes back to what you were saying about that doctor experience. It's this awareness that there's another way, partly, and to remove the sort of hierarchy of me under my doctor thinking, because that, I think what you said about people have this identity of I have this, I have that, and that's the first thing they tell you. I think it's also the first thing they tell you because that's their limitation of what they think the potential of their relationship with you is, because that's all they got from their doctor, right? You're here for 3 minutes. Tell me what's wrong with you, and I'm going to tell you how to fix it. I don't want to connect with you beyond that, right? Don't tell me your story. Where you're saying, tell me your story, because there's so many things in there that you don't even know equal the problem. And so that's where this, I have cancer, I have this, I have that, because that's what they believe, as their right to provide in terms of context and information. So just understanding that you can go far beyond that if you have the right person to work with, and that micro eliminating the symptom isn't healing, that's masking, and it's just going to pop up somewhere else. And yes, for sure, there's this whole slew of people that are coming out now that are constantly disappointed and wanting to find another way. And people like yourself are creating that other way, which is awesome. Hey guys, we've been hearing from a lot of people that there seems to be a second wind of cold and flu season, and a lot of people are getting sick again. So we're going to do something about it. If you haven't heard of Breathe Easy, it's a product that we designed that specifically targets the immune system. It provides support to boost immunity no matter what the season brings. So there's things in there like NAC, zinc, vitamin C that act as potent antioxidants to support the immune function and reduce symptoms of respiratory illness if you take it. So we're going to get this out there so everybody can get back to what they're doing and get rid of their colds. So for this limited time during the season, we're going to bring it out there. Don't miss this deal. When you buy 2 bottles, one will be free. So go to the website and at checkout, you'll see that the second one is a gift from us. We want to make sure everyone and their families are armed. So go to thednacompany.com/products/breathe. That's breathe with an E, BREATHE -easy, and add 2 Breathe Easy bottles to your cart, and you'll see that the second one is free, a gift from us. So harness the power of your DNA, get optimal immunity, enjoy the season in good health. So now I have a curveball for you. Well, it's not actually a curveball. It's actually a Cooch Ball, to be honest. Which is something that you created. And when you first said that to me, I wasn't sure if because this was me lying on the floor in the dark at night waiting for a child to fall asleep, and you said, "Hey, by the way, watch this Cooch Ball video." I was like, "What is this woman talking about?" And then I realized you have this product that you created to help women with pelvic floor, which is a major finding that you got out of all your Pilates work. So tell us all about that, and I'm going to try one too. Why not?
So you probably thought it was maybe a typo that I meant couch or something like that. But here's the deal. So it's my product. I never thought, my husband is a molecular geneticist, and I always thought he would have like the patents and the trademarks, but it turns out that I do. So the Cooch Ball was my solution to the decades of working with both women and men and having them be so uneducated and disconnected from that part of their body, like not even being able to use the word like vagina or penis. They talk like down there. I got an issue down there. Well, where? Like on your toes? Where? What does down there actually mean, right? So my product is it's co-branded. So it's Cooch Ball for women and Gooch Ball for men. And those of you who like to play around with marketing strategy, it was purposeful. I named this product something fun and sassy because I wanted it to be a conversation starter, because we don't talk about this part of our body at all. The pelvic floor is a group of muscles in a man's body and in a woman's body. It is located at the base of our spine, right? It holds our organs up in front of us or inside of us. Women usually tend to get to know their pelvic floor once they've had a baby and they get, their doctor or midwife tells them to do Kegels. Guys, or women in menopause that, their hormones start to change and they start to get a little bit of incontinence. They watch TV, they think, oh, that's my solution, that incontinence, new product that I see in the aisle of the grocery store. And you guys, you know what? $24 billion that industry is going to top next year of incontinence products. And here's what some really cool research. Yeah, seriously. Here's what some really cool research out of the States said a few years ago, that in 90% of pelvic floor dysfunction cases, so in a woman's body and in a man's body, in a lot of cases in a man's body, pelvic floor dysfunction shows itself as chronic back pain, super tight hips, erectile dysfunction. So it shows itself in lots of different ways. $9 billion industry for erectile dysfunction drugs. The research out of the States from a urogynecologist named Dr. Bruce Crawford said in 90% of the cases of pelvic floor dysfunction in a man's and a woman's body, 90% is actually a fitness/movement issue and not a medical issue. So if there is 9 women sitting in a surgery waiting room, waiting to go in to get mesh put in their body and pinned up like a hammock, okay, only one of those women really needs that surgery. The other 9 can go home and actually be taught how to it's like you guys, they're muscles. So if you want strong arms, you're going to work your arms. If you want to have, a good booty, you're going to work your booty. These are muscles, right? And so I just got super frustrated because through my experience growing my business, no one was talking about it. I would do these pelvic floor, not even webinars at that point. They were workshops. People were coming in person. They would sell out. Women would not make eye contact with me. They would wait in line for me after that workshop with tears in their eyes because I was speaking directly to them. And I'm like, this is not right. Like, it's not right. And so the mom of three boys, I just went home and I knew that when you bring oxygen rich, nutrient rich blood to any muscular
Yeah.
fiber, any fascial tissue in the body, any nerve tissue, blood flow heals. So if we want to create the environment for change, like that's why Kegels are fine. If you have a baby and you're like, I want to see if I still have a pelvic floor, yeah, for sure. Stop the flow of urine, start the flow of urine, absolutely. But what about all of those women and men who believe that there's something broken in their
Hmm.
body, that they have nowhere to turn? And really, 90% of them do. And so I went home and I sat on, I mean, my boys had all different kinds of balls to play ball hockey and mini basketballs. And I started sitting on these balls thinking, would this bring blood flow to the area? And my husband was part of the experiment. And so after about 4 weeks of like playing around with these different balls that our boys had at home, Jason came home, my husband, from he was playing golf with his buddies, and he's like, I was getting like 20 extra yards off the tee
No way.
today. He said, do you think because my hips are loosening up, do you think it's because of this stuff we're sitting on these balls? And I was like, I don't know, but we're going to keep going. So it was kind of like the three bears, like some were too hard, some
Yeah.
were too soft. So I just made my own.
Yeah.
I created my own. I got a patent lawyer, a trademark lawyer. We ordered the first 1,000 units. They landed at my studio in Saskatoon. And I went to a Home Shopping Network event where it was like the Shark Tank
Right.
pitch
Yeah. Yeah.
competition. I won the competition, was scheduled to go back to Tampa to do an 8-minute show on the Home Shopping Network. COVID hit. That put a kibosh on that. So I put up a landing page. I started doing webinars and I just started selling out and selling out and selling out and realized that there's a hunger for this
Mm.
education. The ball is beautifully designed to work with the body. And what it is really is a 3-minute experience. When you sit on the ball, on a chair, on the floor, the weight of the body on the ball creates this beautiful interaction between the fascial tissue and your circulation. And so when you have this tissue that's been locked down because you've been holding, anxiety or tension, or because of poor posture or lack of hydration, or because of some sort of trauma, even childbirth, falling down the stairs as a child, falling off a horse, all those things can create tension. Sports, okay? It actually locks us down. It locks down that root chakra. That the energetic of the root chakra is all about safety and security and feeling grounded, right? And so the Cooch Ball and the Gooch Ball were born, and I get to, impact lives from, I had a mom buy a ball for her 11-year-old daughter who wanted to go to sleepovers at her girlfriend's house in the worst way, but was wetting the bed.
Mm.
And we realized that it was she was a ballet dancer, quite high caliber ballet dancer, where you have to hold
Right.
postures, right? And her pelvic floor at 11 years old was like a rock wall. And that was causing the bedwetting experiences she was having at night. And so once she started using the Cooch Ball, that fixed itself. I heard from her mom. She went to her first
Hmm.
sleepover. She had confidence. She had so much fun. And that's on one end of the spectrum. Then I had the couple from New York City that called me. The woman was 91 years old. Her husband was turning 93, and she wanted to get him a Gooch Ball for his birthday because, in her words to me, she said, Jana, he's just not as spunky in the bedroom as he used to be. And it just brought me so much joy to be on the phone with this
Yeah.
woman. And I'm like, yes, at 91, I want to be having the same conversation that, he's just not as spunky,
Yeah.
right? So I've been gifted this experience to be able to show up for people, to have the conversation around a part of the body that we're not talking about. And I just want to thank you for asking the question, because this is the goal,
No,
is
it's
to be
really
able
cool.
to share it with as many people as possible.
It's really cool because that's where this is how you really solve problems. It's not masking problems, it's solving problems. And you make me think, like, I think about the gym, and when you walk around, the most common sort of structural problem I see is people with these crazy tight hip flexors, and they're like, their
Mhm.
belly's kind of sticking out because their hips are so tight. And then they're working on it, but they're not
Mhm.
getting a result. So I'm wondering how many of these people have a pelvic floor problem that don't even know. and so this, yeah.
Well, pelvic floor. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Sorry,
no,
go
so
ahead.
that's it's just a thought that we're always looking for the easy answer, right? And often that's all we have access to anyway. When you go to, whether it's a clinician or trainer or physiotherapist, whatever, knowledge is limited. So I mean, the key here to me is never stop learning. There's always more. People like yourself are out there figuring things out, innovating, keep learning, and yeah, I'm gonna try it too. Let's see if I can, because I find that sometimes I have this hip flexor issue, and I have this like stiffness. If I'm trying to do some deadlifts or some movements, some days it feels amazing. Some days it's like, am I 80 years old? What's going on with my body? So whatever we can do to make ourselves better, we got to keep working at. So where do people get it right now if they wanted to grab one?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can head over to coochball.com or goochball.com. I'm sure we'll have a link in the show notes as well. And it's just, I want to just touch on your psoas piece, because you're right. The pelvic floor is connected to the psoas, and gang, the psoas muscle is like the hip flexors. And Cash is right. There's an epidemic around being able to be
Mm.
upright, in gravity on this planet we live on. And so, using the Cooch and Gooch ball, even laying on your stomach on that hip flexor area. So there's been so much healing that has gone on, because that part of our body gets tight. It's like beef jerky instead of the psoas muscle. Actually, did you know this? Is if we were cows, it's the filet mignon cut of beef. It's
Wow.
supposed to be very
Yeah, yeah,
juicy and very, like, right, but because we're an upright body, it really loads that
yeah.
muscle. And so when we can bring good nutrition, good hydration to it, and just laying on your tummy with that Cooch or Gooch ball right in that hip crease, it really can heal. And so, if you head over to the website, there's even a free some free gifts there that you can download as well. And I just want to thank you for helping me spread the
No, we
word.
should, because it's. I mean, for people that are sort of doubtful or not understanding what we're talking about here, you've already seen this. You've already seen when you go to the gym. There's people that are rolling like their shoulder with a ball, or they're rolling like a tube on their thigh or their hamstring, and they're
Mhm.
increasing circulation. They're sort of softening up muscle tissue. So we already understand the science. There just wasn't a tool that was designed for that specific spot, and it was completely unaddressed. I can't think of a training program that addresses pelvic floor. Nobody talks about it, right? So it's you built a tool that was filling a major gap, which people need to look at. So that's awesome. And in terms of the work you're doing, I'm sure you don't have time anymore to work with people on the Pilates and movement and all that, but I assume maybe there's some group work, or there's some things that people can learn from you. How do people
Mhm.
actually get your knowledge?
Yeah. So the Meta District, and Meta is two T's. So METTA district. And Meta is a Buddhist word that means a place of love, non judgment, benevolence. So that's my online movement community. And again, I've got free resources there. My flagship movement course is called Impact 30. And it's really rooted in the work of Joseph Pilates, because Joseph Pilates said, after 10 sessions of Pilates based movement, you'll feel a difference. After 20, you'll see a difference. And after 30, you'll have a whole new program or a whole new body. So this program is really built around that 10, 20, 30 class milestone. Thousands of people have worked with that program. And I guess the other thing that I want to say, you guys, is if you are coming from a classic Pilates background, you might see my work and think, oh my God, what is this? What has she done
Hmm.
to the work of Joseph Pilates? And really, what I've done is I've taken lots of different pockets of training that I have experienced over the past 20 years now, and I brought them into my own little twist on what it's Pilates based movement. We do lots of work on alignment and core. We do a lot of work around fascia release and, repatterning the neural network around movement and breath. And so it truly is, a full body, multi-layered approach to improving our quality of life, because right, we are born into one body.
Yeah.
We weren't born with replacement parts. This is meant to last us to the last breath on this planet. And don't you want it to be the most vitality and yummy juiciness than you possibly can?
Yeah. And one question for you, just personal curiosity. I went to Pilates once,
Yeah.
just to understand what it was,
Yeah.
and I remember there's this machine that looks somewhat like a medieval torture device. Do you need access to that, or what you do?
Yes.
Okay. So you would do this in a studio?
No, you
Oh, you don't.
don't.
Oh, you
No,
don't.
no.
Okay.
No, you don't. No, not at all. No. See, Pilates. So what you're talking about is there's a series of pieces of equipment, and what you're probably talking about is either the reformer or the trapeze table, where there was like fuzzy loops and
Yeah,
straps
yeah,
and
yeah,
all these kinds of
yeah.
things, right? Yeah. Funny quick story. I had a reformer and a trapeze table in our house, and our boys would play hockey, and we would host these parent parties. And there are these straps that hang from these bars, and they've got like fuzzy loops on them. And my husband was like the dads on the team thought he was like the biggest stud because we had this machine in our front room in our house. But so it can look like a medieval torture chamber. It can look like some sort of sexy
Yeah.
apparatus. But no, you know what? Pilates can be done on a mat, just like yoga can be done
Okay.
on a mat. It's extremely accessible. I mean, I've taught Pilates to people in a chair, whether they were elderly or in a wheelchair. It's a form of movement that I believe doesn't really discriminate between ability in a body. There's always some, even if it's just breath, proper breathing with our diaphragm,
Mm-hmm.
right? There will be benefits to be had. So yeah, you can be. So the work I do online, you don't need any equipment at all. It's pretty simple.
Amazing. Well, this was awesome. I wanted to thank you because this is something that people's eyes needed to be open to, which is movement is a part of healing. You have to, your body was designed, how many thousands of generations moved in a certain way, and now what are we doing? We're sitting at each other, looking at each other on these screens, and that's the reality of majority of most people's days. So you have to add movement back in, and Jana's done an amazing job of curating, protocols that are exactly what you need. So take a look at that. Thank you for joining us here today. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.